It's true. It seems like there is a downward trend in the number of exams that actuarial employers are requesting from candidates applying for entry-level actuarial jobs. And that data comes from our 2024 entry-level actuarial job study. Now, what does that mean for you, especially as the 2024 recruiting season comes up? Well, more about that later on, and in this video you're also going to discover the trends and qualifications that actuarial employers want you to have, my insights into the current job market, the best methods you can use to find jobs, and my advice if you're going to be looking for a job within the next year. Now, let's talk qualifications first. There are some significant changes that I've seen between the results that I got when I did this same study back in 2021 versus the study that I did this year. The first is that I'm seeing that actuarial exams seem to be becoming less important. Back in 2021, about 74% of employers wanted at least one exam passed, whereas now 66% of employers are asking for one exam or more to be passed. I'm also seeing a downward trend in the percentage of employers asking for 2 or more exams passed and 3 or more exams passed. This chart shows it pretty well. Last I checked, 2 data points wasn't enough to give conclusive evidence that this is a long-term trend. You're right, it's not, but I'm curious to see if this trend continues in the future studies that I do. But the question is, does it really matter? And actually, I think it really doesn't, because if you want to be a top candidate, then you need to pass at least 1 exam and ideally 2. But the thing is that it does mean that it's potentially going to be easier for you to get a job, even if you don't have any exams passed. So that is good news for many people. This also proves the point that you need to do more than just focus on your studying for exams. Actuarial employers are also looking for other qualifications like education. They're looking for technical skills. They're looking for related experience and communication skills. And all these things combined is what is going to make you a great candidate for actuarial roles. It's not all about the exams. Now, the second thing I'm seeing is that there seems to be an emerging trend of employers asking for knowledge with Power BI. And this is a Microsoft tool designed to collect data from a whole bunch of different sources and be able to visualize it through different sorts of graphs and visualizations. And this allows you to find trends more easily. Now, in our 2021 study, I found that only about 2% of employers were asking for this tool. And now in 2024, I'm seeing about 10% of job descriptions specifically stating that they'd like someone that knows Power BI. I'm really curious to know if this continues to be an ongoing trend, but if you know Power BI, which fortunately it's actually fairly easy to learn, then you're probably going to be eligible for even more jobs, and it never really hurts to know an extra tool, especially when it's so easy to learn. I'm actually really curious to know how many of you guys know Power BI. Let me know down in the comments if you've heard of it, if you've used it, and to what extent, or if it's something you'd like to learn more about. Maybe I could create another video about it. Let me know down below in the comments. Now, even with the lower exam requirements and the fairly easy ability to learn Power BI, well, that doesn't mean that it's easy to get a job these days. Let's talk a little bit about the opportunities that are currently available. Now, most entry-level actuarial jobs are getting tons and tons of applications. Employers are overloaded with entry-level job applicants. And sometimes on LinkedIn, I'm seeing jobs with over 100 applicants, and that's not the only place that people are applying for jobs. So I am seeing this especially for those larger companies and the ones in very populated cities. Now, in our Actuary Accelerator community, we also have a job board that is specifically for internships and entry-level jobs in Canada and the US. And there we're having about 170 to 180 jobs right now, but I expect to see that grow in the next few weeks because the hiring season is going to be starting. So from about September to November is the biggest hiring season in the actuarial field, and that is for entry-level actuarial jobs and internships that are going to start next summer typically. Now, a lot of the time employers are very busy during this time posting online, they're doing job fairs and all those sorts of things, so it's a great time to look for jobs. I'm also seeing that there are lots of remote and hybrid opportunities opening up. And when I say hybrid, basically I mean you're going to be in the office a certain number of days per week or a certain number of days per month. A lot of the time employers are fairly flexible about which days those are. So it can open up a lot of opportunities for you in terms of the time you have. But since there are also a lot of remote options available, I'm also seeing that this could be potentially increasing competition. It means that more people are available for the same number of jobs. Some companies are also going above and beyond to attract the best of the best candidates and really treat their actuarial interns and their actuarial full-time employees the best they possibly can. I'm seeing that a lot of companies are paying relocation fees for full-time positions and for internships. I'm seeing that internships sometimes get to keep the monitors or the laptops after their internships. I'm seeing internal mentorship and training programs, and I'm seeing that companies are purposely fostering a culture that the actuarial team will love. Oh, by the way, I've heard that some companies are giving away big bonuses if you give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful so far. Now, knowing the qualifications that actuarial employers are looking for and the types of opportunities that are available for you, well, all that doesn't mean very much if you don't know how to get into those jobs. So let's talk about the methods that employers are using to attract people like you. Now, I am seeing quite a variety of different methods that employers are using to find candidates. One of the most common is through Handshake, and if you're not familiar with that, it might be because you're no longer in school. But anyway, this is a platform that employers use to find candidates that are on campus, and it's actually called a career services platform. Even if your school doesn't heavily promote this option, you still should check on it because you never know what you might find. I'm also seeing that a lot of employers are going to college campuses. Maybe this is because they are doing sessions there where they kind of promote the company and talk a little bit about what it's like to work there, why you might want to work there, also giving you the opportunity to ask them questions. So it's basically like an employer info session, but they also often attend job fairs at colleges. So this can be a really good way to find actuarial jobs and internships. So do not neglect going to those if your campus offers one. It can also be a good idea to connect with recruiters at that school via LinkedIn before you even go to the job fair. You never know, you may be able to connect with someone on LinkedIn and then mention it when you potentially meet them at the job fair. Now, I'm also seeing a ton of employers hire internally from their internship pool. So this is another great reason to aim to get an internship if you can. Of course, it is not required. You can absolutely still get a job without having an internship. But I am seeing that employers love to kind of test out those interns, see how they do, and potentially offer them jobs once the internship is completed. It's a great way for you to get your foot in the door, learn a bit about the actuarial career, and potentially get a full-time job out of it. Many employers are also posting their jobs on their websites, on LinkedIn, on Indeed, all those job search websites, but I highly recommend that first and priority should be going to the company's websites because that's where they're usually going to post first. Now, another thing I'm seeing in terms of actuarial employers looking for candidates is their actuaries are actually going out on LinkedIn and networking with future actuaries, which is amazing. This is a really good strategy that has been working for a lot of employers, and they've been able to really get a good backlog of potential candidates that could work for them in the future. If you are able to get on LinkedIn and connect with some of these actuaries, it could just be a really good way to get into the field. So given all these insights that I've shared with you today, based on the study that I've done and all the talks that I've done with actuarial employers and successful job candidates, well, there is a lot to take away. So I wanted to summarize my top advice for you based on this insight. Now, there are more options available to you with all the remote positions that are available these days. And that means that you absolutely need to have a Dream 10 list. If you're not familiar with what that is, basically it's a list of the companies that really fit with the type of culture, the type of work that you want to do, all that sort of stuff that really align with you and what you want out of your career. Okay, so to demonstrate this, let's look at some noodles and some pom-poms. So let's say that each of these noodles represents a job that's available. We'll put them all out like this. Okay, so you see lots of jobs now. Now let's say these are all your time. So we'll apply that time and energy to each of these jobs. You have some for this job, and you have some for this job, and this job, all the jobs. You only have a little bit for some of them. Okay, so as you can see, it's becoming a mess. Some jobs you don't even get to apply to, some you've spent more effort on, and it's just a big mess. You don't know what type of job you're going to get, and you really haven't been able to focus your time. Instead, if you put all your energy, your time, your effort, all that time spent networking, all that time spent catering resumes into a few specific companies and jobs, then you're really going to increase your chances of getting a job. Look, you can spend all that time on this company and this company. See, you know you really want to work at these companies. You know that. So if you decide on that early on and put all your effort into getting into these positions, then you're much more likely to be able to get into them. You can spend more time catering your resume. You can spend more time networking. You can spend more time understanding and learning about these companies so that your chances of getting into these jobs skyrockets. This is exactly the thing that Danny did, and I actually did an interview with him in this video if you want to go watch it. But he used his Dream 10 list and got into a company that he knew would be a good fit for him. A lot of the company's websites do put on their website what their priorities are, what they want for the employees that work there. So do those things align with what you want? That's the question. You get to bring your pets to work if you work at the pet insurance company called Trupanion. Just saying. Now, with more remote opportunities becoming available, it also means, like I said earlier, that there's more competition. That means that for you, networking is probably going to be even more important than it ever has been in the past. You never know who's going to be able to help you get into an actuarial role, but you do have to start networking early on in your actuarial journey so that you have time to build up those connections over time, so that by the time you're ready to look for a job, you have lots of great connections with people that could potentially help you get into an actuarial role. I've seen many people be able to get jobs through their network, and I also want to emphasize that not every actuarial role is posted online. There might be some that never get posted, or in situations like Danny's, well, he actually had a job made for him because of the people that he knew in his network. Do not underestimate the power of networking. Okay, so now let's talk about communication skills. This is something that has always been important, but even more employers are specifying communication skills on their job posts. Last time we did the study, there were about 74% of employers that were asking for these skills, whereas this time, about 82% were asking for them. So there has been an increase there. That means that you have to do everything you possibly can to prove these skills. You need a well-written resume. You need to do workshops if you can. If you're an AAC member, we do have workshops that help you build up your communication skills and practice them. You also want to really emphasize any experience you have in customer service and doing presentations, whether they be in school, whether they were for work, doesn't matter. If you've done a presentation, you want to highlight that on your resume. And you may actually want to consider having a communication section on your resume so it explicitly states all those amazing communication skills you have and makes them really easy for employers to find and see how each of them is relevant to building up your communication skills. Lastly, in terms of advice, this is something that I have mentioned on my channel many times before, but I want to emphasize it here because I think these study results further emphasize this, but you need to focus your time on more than just exams. Exams are important, for sure. You need them to get an actuarial job in most cases, but there are so many other important qualifications out there that are just as important as exams. So even if you feel like you want to just study for exams, or you think that's what you need to do, please don't. There are other ways that you need to spend your time that are going to be equally as valuable. Now that is just the start of the job market insight and the job seeking advice that I can give you. Go watch this video next where Ryan and I reveal the coaching call that we did that he used to get a job just 2 months later. It's all right here.